Hello and welcome. This is Rob Thomas, your everything Microsoft Cloud Architect. And today I'm going to cover Microsoft Entra. And before we get started, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsors, which are the software dudes, the Enterprise Software Solution team. Whenever you're making your purchase for any of your Microsoft Office products, I highly recommend reaching out to these guys. They're great. I use them. I highly recommend them if you're purchasing Office 365, Azure, trying to figure out how to use it, need help. Microsoft SQL Server, any of those products, by all means, reach out to them. They'll help you get started. All right, without further ado, let's dive into Microsoft Entra ID. And I do want to welcome you to the channel. As we discuss Microsoft Entra ID, you might know it better as Azure Active Directory or Azure AD. Now, what exactly is it and why is it important? So I just want you to stick around to the end of this video where you'll know exactly why Microsoft Entra ID is a game changer for identity and access management. Now, what is Entra ID? Basically, let's start with the basics. Microsoft Entra ID is a Microsoft cloud-based identity and access management service. Now, if you're using or when you're using Microsoft 365, Azure, or a ton of other Microsoft SaaS products, Entra ID is what keeps everything secure and accessible. Think of it as your digital gatekeeper. It makes sure only the right people and tools get in and can only do what they're supposed to do. So, and you'll notice that every time you're logging in, you're using basically Entra ID to log in your Office 365. Now, how does it work? Now, every time you log in, right, into Office 365, and you're using an Entra ID tenant, that tenant represents your organization. It's responsible for two main things. First, it's responsible for authentication, right? And this is verify who you are, and then authorization. And this determines what you can and cannot do, right? So authentication and authorization. And this is where things get really cool because Entra ID isn't just for humans, for human users. It manages access for apps, automation tools, cloud resources, and a few other back-end automation tools, right? Now, let's get a little bit deeper. Let's talk about role-based access control, right? And I showed this slide before and I went over it detailed. But with Microsoft Entra ID, it follows this role-based access control or RBAC. And basically, you only get permissions you need to do your job and nothing more. This follows the principle of least privilege, which means your credentials get compromised, the damage stays minimal, which is smart, right? Now, let's move on to the type of identities. So if you're talking about Entra ID, it has three types of identities. And the first one is going to be user account. And basically, these are your regular human users, basically employees, admins. They should always use, my recommendation, right? You always use a multifactor authentication. And that just gives you that extra security. Now, the next one is going to be service principals. These are for apps, automation tools, access, and Azure resources. They authenticate with a secret key or a certificate. And I did that in a previous video where I was showing you how to set up your Office in Microsoft Outlook and from your WordPress site. And you were basically setting up and managing your email when you're on your WordPress site, right? And you had to get a service key to get all that set up, right? And then the last one's going to be managed identities. Azure managed identities are for resources like virtual machines. And there are two types. And that's going to be system assigned, which is created for a single resource, and user assigned, which is shared across multiple resources. Right. So I hope this was super helpful as I dug into basically formerly Azure AD, but Microsoft Entra ID, right? And basically, security and best practices. Like Entra ID also has some awesome security features like machine learning, conditional access policies, and self-service options. Microsoft even provides a 5-step checklist to ensure your identity infrastructure. So trust me, this 5-step checklist is worth checking out. Now, it's your turn. basically what I want you to do is when you log in, I just kind of want to show you this last piece. When you log in and you go to your admin, you go into your admin section, right? And here, and then when you get into your admin, you're going to basically go to identity, and you're going to see here, I have my identity, and then boom, you're going to be in Microsoft Encarta admin section. So I went in here and showed you some really cool tricks that are very essential when you're using Office 365. So getting here, play around with this, get comfortable, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, if you found this video to be helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. See you next time, and I hope this was super fun and helpful. Thanks. Bye.